Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Gray Area. My name is Alex, and today we have DJ and producer and streaming extraordinaire ABCO. How are you doing today?
What's up, Alex? How are you? I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being here. I feel like I've gotten to know you so well from watching you through social media,
I
and
know this is like our first like interaction, like for real.
right? I feel like we've probably interacted on Twitch over the pandemic, and I also had like the honor of writing your DJ bio
I know.
last
How
year.
long ago was that?
I looked back at the email today, and it was probably almost exactly a year ago.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, or maybe like a little, and some change. But yeah, that was like mid pandemic and like at the height of the time when nothing was happening. So how does it feel to be back in like regular shows and like almost back in regular life for you?
Yeah,
I've been
it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird because like I just spent like the last like 3 weeks in California, and even like it's so different how like Southern California versus like San Francisco versus like how DC where I'm based. It's like it has a different vibe kind of like everywhere with like reopening. Like DC's pretty much been like fully open for a while now.
right.
Um so it's feeling more normal here kind of pre-pandemic. But California it felt San Francisco especially felt like a little bit still like kind of like lockdown ish, I think. Um, but we're getting there. It's good to finally be playing in front of crowds again and interacting with people IRL. That's definitely like the part I've missed the most, you know.
Yeah, San Francisco is definitely in a weird place. I mean, I live in Oakland, so we're definitely like on the bridge of being open and not open. And I think it's mostly because like we're still super restrictive about where people can go. Um,
Yeah.
which is, it's definitely made for some interesting events, but also there are some places here where it like I'll go out on a Saturday night. Like I just went out Friday for I played a show
Hmm.
and the midway was completely packed. Like
Yeah.
and crazy, like rammed wall to wall. So it was almost like nothing ever happened. So
Huh.
there's definitely
Interesting.
some, yeah, there's definitely some nights where you go out and you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess everything's fine then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so let's get into it. Can you tell me a little bit about your musical upbringing? I know your dad and your stepdad had like a huge hand in like helping shape your musical DNA. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so my dad is a musician. That's definitely like his big passion. So I grew up with a lot of music because of him. He is a singer-songwriter. He's very like James Taylor-esque, like folk kind of guy. And so yeah, I mean, I was playing drums when I was like 3. I think I picked up a guitar when I was 7. I played trumpet in like high school, like elementary school, high school. So I was always around music. I never really had thoughts about like making my own music until I got much older. Um, so that's definitely where like my music influence and just like my passion for it came from. And then my stepdad, on the other hand, was like the one who was about just like hard work in general in life. Um, so I think both of those things kind of intersected to kind of get me where I'm at now. Um, so yeah, I'm really grateful. I was a big athlete growing up, played Division 1 sport in college, and I definitely got burnt out post college with that. And my dad was the one that was like, you can only play sports for so long in life anyway, but music you can have forever. And that like really stuck with me. So I think that's why I'm so passionate about it. And I know that maybe at 31 years old, it's late in the game for me to just really be getting into it, but it doesn't mean anything, honestly.
No, no, it doesn't. I mean, one, that's a really valuable lesson. Both of those are valuable lessons to be given that idea of hard work, but also that idea of like, hey, you don't have to do this thing that you're doing just because you've been doing it for so long. You can
Hmm.
always go in a different direction.
Yeah.
And I mean, some may say it's too late, but is it ever really? I
Yeah.
mean, you
Life
know,
is too short. That's been my whole thing. And I think maybe, when you interviewed me, when you wrote my bio, like I made a big change in my life. I have a master's degree in engineering. I went and designed headphones and speakers at Bose for 7 years. And I just like was like, I want to do music. Like, and I left that whole corporate life behind. And it's been almost exactly 2 years now, which was bad timing when I decided to leave the corporate gig. But, it is what it is. And I've made the most of it. So,
Well, let's talk about the decision to do that for a second, because I just find that really interesting. Yes, the timing may have been a little bit odd, but
yeah,
you had no idea there was a pandemic coming.
right.
But what inspired you? What led to you deciding to leave the corporate life behind and really devote yourself to music all the way?
Yeah, I took some like DJ and production classes in Boston when I used to live up there. So it was probably like 2017, and I had started going to festivals about right after college. So I was a little bit older maybe when I got into that like scene. But I really fell in love with all of that, and just festivals in general, and getting more into electronic music because I'd never really listened to that kind of stuff like, when I was younger. Um, and I started taking these classes, and I would find myself just like DJing for fun until 3 in the morning on a Wednesday. And I'm like, why would I much rather be doing this than like my day job, And it just like, it was just a couple years of really being like, I am so much more passionate about this other thing. And, corporate life is, 60 hours a week. I was traveling to China like 3, 4, 5 times a year. It was a lot. And I think that the biggest push for me really, was I met my now wife. We met in Boston, and she moved down to the DC area. So we did a year-long distance, and it kind of got to that point where it was like I was ready to make a change and go be with her. And I think that was kind of like the extra push I needed to be like, this is the moment where I should really be leaving that part of me behind. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So I moved down to DC in the end of 2019, and it was really scary. I wound up moving to like a part-time sales position for Bose.
Yeah.
But then we all got laid off in 2020. So that's kind of where what got me to where I'm at. But I always talk about this in every interview, but I'm not a big reader at all. I really don't enjoy reading that much. But one of the last books I read when I was thinking about leaving my job was The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I don't know if you know that book.
I was going to
Most
actually
people.
ask you about reading this book. So,
Yes.
yeah, go
So
ahead. Tell me
this
about
is
it.
like what I preach all the time. And he talks about the do something principle, which is basically like, it's not so much you have motivation and then you do something. It's you do something and then that triggers the motivation. So like me leaving my job and no longer having that like financial stability, like it really just lit a fire under me. And I was like, I have to do this now. Like there's no other option, I have no other, you know, way to support myself unless I just really like dive head first and put 100% of myself into this. So that's like the one piece that I think that really just sat in my brain. And I was like, yeah, like I need to do this for me. And it's really scary, but it's really helped push me, I think, to where I'm at.
Well, I think, that's like another really valuable lesson. And like one of the biggest takeaways I ever got from The Secret was the universe loves action. And you can't expect anything to come to you. You have to go out and get it. And
Yeah.
even if it means taking a huge leap of faith, that's the hardest part. Because everything's always going to be okay if you really believe that.
Right. Right. Yes.
So
Like attracts like. And my dad too has always said, he's like, think positive and positive things happen,
yeah,
It's that total just like force of the universe.
it's true. It's true. So after taking this huge leap of faith and like then the pandemic happened, and with all of the terrible things that could result from the pandemic, I feel like for a lot of people in the music industry, it was really kind of a positive thing. We had this idea of the pandemic DJ that emerged,
Mhm.
but that also like created a lot of opportunity for everybody. Can you talk a little bit about how you just decided to latch onto this and you did it so quickly?
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. Like, I mean, I got laid off, so I was like, I have nothing to do right now. There's no
Right.
work. And I had done like a little bit of live streaming. I'm not sure if you're familiar with chew.tv. It was a
Oh, that's a
website
good
that
one.
like, yeah, that was like, I don't even know who owned it or whatever, but it was like a live streaming service that was more geared towards just DJs.
Right.
So like I would, when we had um like would be working from home when I was still at Bose, like if we had a snow day or something in Boston during like our lunch hour, I would like stream for some of my coworkers. I just shoot an email to like
Oh,
20 of my like my coworkers and be like, hey, I'm going to DJ for an hour, whatever. So I was like kind of familiar with the concept. And then the pandemic hit and I was like, well, maybe I'll try Twitch. No one had really been doing it yet, because I think my first stream was like March 18th was my very first stream on Twitch. So I mean, it was like right at the beginning.
I was like
And I
day
had
2.
yeah. So I had nothing going on and I'm just like in my brain because everyone we were like, oh yeah, this is going to be over in like 2 weeks, right? So I was like, I'm just going to stream every day and hang out with my friends. So that's what it was for. It was like for me to just virtually hang out with my friends. Um, but as it started growing and I got more into it and I learned just more about the platform because Twitch was very foreign to me.
Yeah.
Um, it really became like a whole pet project for my wife and I. We like redid the studio in our old place and YouTube was my friend and I just got into, you know, learning about cameras and lighting and overlays and all of the production side, which
Right.
is definitely a big piece, I think, of like doing well on Twitch. Because everyone's how do you one up each other now is, that kind of that happened really quick. But I think just from being consistent right from the get-go, it like really helped like push me ahead because, 3-6 months into the pandemic, it got super saturated. But I had already kind of had that extra leg up. So I think that's what helped me do well on the platform. And obviously dog cam. Everyone loved the dogs on the camera. So
Of course. Everybody loves a pup.
yeah, it
Um,
was the selling point.
yeah, for sure. And you got to hook up with a lot of really cool people over the course of the
Yes.
pandemic, and one of them is actually a really good friend of Gray Area. LP Giobbi is like super tight with us, so I kind of want to
Hmm.
hear how you ended up hooking up with the Femme House crew and how all that happened.
I know. I honestly don't even remember. This is what's so crazy. This was like a year and a half ago. Because that's the wild thing too about like, I'm in DC and I really enjoy our music scene here, but it's obviously not LA, it's not New York. It's not as well connected. I
Right.
mean, you could say with the industry, but then this whole just like, internet way of DJing and communicating one another like really was able to reach people that you wouldn't have otherwise. And I honestly don't even remember. You know what? I actually think I saw LP streaming on Twitch. I don't know, probably around the summertime, maybe like June or something of last year,
Yeah.
May or June. And I was like, this chick is a fucking badass. I was like, she's into Piano House and like that's my shit. And I was like, I love her energy. So I just like shamelessly sent her a DM on Instagram. And uh, so we started talking and then, they decided to come out with this like Femme House Friday thing that we did, which was so fun. And yeah, so that's kind of just how it started. Like I just DM'd her on Instagram and I'm really grateful for, who Femme House has connected me with now. Like I just got to hang out with a whole bunch of people in San Francisco that are going there for outside lands. I unfortunately couldn't stay for the weekend, but I've gotten to meet now a lot of these Femme House people. And meeting other female producers and DJs has just been so inspiring. And it's like really opening my eyes to like how much female talent is out there that I don't think I recognized before. Yeah.
I think what she's doing with Femme House is just so important,
Hmm.
and wonderful and beautiful. And when she talks about it, you can tell she's doing it for nothing other than to expose all of this talent to the
Oh,
world. Like
yeah.
it has nothing to do with like elevating her own persona or anything. It's because she wholeheartedly believes that this should happen.
Yeah.
So I really love that. And I'm so happy that you got to become a part of that because it's
Yeah, I'm so grateful. It's been amazing. I love everything that Femme House is about and what they've done. And, I hope it continues to grow. I want to drop the hint that there should be a Femme House record label.
that may be coming. We
I would love that.
I would love that too. we actually have an upcoming partnership with them too. So we're going to be getting
Sweet.
into the Femme House fold as well, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
I kind of want to rewind for a moment and ask you if there was like a particular moment that you feel like you really fell in love with dance music.
Oh, I mean, there's no particular moment for me. It was more of just like started to go to festivals and started to understand dance music culture. And I don't know, it just hit me in a way that other music hadn't.
Mm.
But I also think that I actually like didn't really go to a lot of concerts when I was like in high school and even college. Like I was an athlete, like I said. So I mean, 365 days a year, that was where a lot of my time was dedicated, other than school, obviously. Um, and then started working at Bose in 2013, and I had some friends there that were into music a lot, and they were into um, some of the more I don't know what the word is. Maybe not IDM, but some more of the chill ambient stuff like Tycho
Right.
and Emancipator and Bonobo. And I remember at first being like, there's no lyrics. Like, I don't, I didn't really click with me right away. And then I started going to festivals and like seeing this music live. And I just like thought it was the coolest thing. So it was, kind of like the way you like fall in love with somebody, right? Like it's not like one particular moment. It was just kind of like over the course of a couple years that it just like, I really just like fell in love with it. And while my taste, I think, has changed like a lot, I think it's matured a lot. Um, I definitely, yeah, am just, that's why I love to DJ. I just love to share the music that makes me feel good. I always say house music is an emotion, it's a feeling. There's no way really to describe it.
100%. It's funny you mentioned this idea of like spending your entire high school career not really going to concerts or doing some of the things other people do.
Yeah.
I fully like relate to that. I wasn't an athlete, but I've always been in music, but I was in like choir and everything. So, and even from like a young age. So I never really went to concerts outside of that until I
Yeah.
started going to raves. And maybe that's
Isn't
part of
that
the
so
reason
funny? Yeah.
yeah, it's just so funny. Like people ask what your first concert was, and I'm like, I don't I don't think I went to like a concert until I was out of high school, to be
Yeah.
honest with
I,
you.
I think my first concert was like in sync 2000 and oh gosh, I don't even know, like, like 2004 or something. Like my dad took me to like the old Giants stadium. Like that was my first concert. And then I really like, other than actually going to my dad's like shows at like much smaller venues in a totally different, environment or whatever,
Yeah.
or like going to see his friends' bands. That's really the only experience I had with like live music until yeah, I was out of college.
And speaking of which, I understand you had kind of like a really kind of transcendent experience at Austin City Limits at one point. Can you tell me
Oh,
about that?
dude, I like still cry thinking about that moment. So, my wife and I, yeah, went to ACL. Was it 2018? It must have been 2018. And I remember seeing the band Arizona.
Mm.
And this is when I was like really struggling with like not being happy with like my corporate job and really wanting to do music. And in the middle of a show, I'm seriously might cry right now just thinking about it. But in the middle of their set, he was kind of explaining like where the band came from and how they came to be. And I just remember he like screamed into the microphone. He's like, if you're not doing what you love with your life, then you're wasting your fucking time. And he like yelled it. And I just like, my wife was there and I just like lost it. And it just like really hit me.
Yeah.
So that like is a moment that I definitely have ingrained in my mind forever. I feel like I should get that tattooed on me somewhere or
You
something.
should. It's such a powerful message. It's
Yeah.
such a powerful message, and I mean, again, it's about that leap of faith and about really like taking a look at what you're doing and saying if this doesn't serve you, then what's the fucking point?
Yeah. Yeah. I have actually. So right before I left Boston, I got this tattoo. So I don't know if you can see it very well,
I
but
can see it. Yeah.
the top half is the Boston skyline, but the bottom half is actually a waveform of my voice. And I recorded myself saying, do what makes you happy and follow your heart. So that was kind of like my closing chapter to Bose, and it was what I was doing at the time. And the artist, she did an awesome job. But
I
yes, that
love
is,
that. That is so
yeah,
beautiful, and that's what a tattoo should be. It should be
yeah,
something that really speaks to you. I love that.
yeah.
Um,
So I try to not do frivolous tattoos. So they've all meant something to me. And this was the most recent one, which is, I don't know, two plus years ago now, but 2.5 years ago. But yeah, it definitely life is too short, man, you know?
yeah, 100%. Um, I also want to talk about your first gig because it was kind of a big one. Most people start off their DJing career playing in a dark basement to maybe four people, three of which are their friends, and one is
Yep.
that guy who always shows up at 9 p.m. to a party, and the promoter. But you
Yep.
played to like 1,000 people the first time you DJed. Can you
Yeah.
tell me about that?
So I mentioned I was taking DJing and production classes in Cambridge, Massachusetts at a school which no longer is there, but it was called Maven. It was a lot of like Berkeley professors and stuff, but
Yeah.
basically like dumped all my savings to take like their master program. So it was nights and weekends. And there was a Big Brother, Big Sister charity event happening at the House of Blues Boston.
Yeah.
And one of my good friends who worked for Maven at the time, I think Maven was either a sponsor or they reached out to them, or I don't know how Maven and the Big Brother Big Sister event got connected. But my friend asked me, he's like, "Hey, do you want to DJ this event at House of Blues for like 1,000 people?" And like I played in maybe in front of like 20 people before that. Like I had been
Yeah.
doing some stuff like at like friends like house parties or whatever, 20, 30 people, but this was like my first like proper gig.
Yeah.
So me and my good friend, shout out to my boy in Boston, Tony Clark, him and I wound up both DJing that evening. He's a Berkeley professor. He's one of my big production mentors. And him and I played that event, and I have never been so nervous about anything in my
I
life,
bet.
but it was not it was more of like background music though. It wasn't like a
Right.
proper like dancing event, so there wasn't as much pressure in that regard, but yeah, that was like my first ever DJ gig. It was crazy.
That's I mean, it's a good way to get all of like the crazy nervousness out like right away. And I
Right,
mean, even if
right.
it was background music, it's still standing on stage in front of almost 1,000 people.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it was crazy.
I love it. So we're getting close to the end, and I always like to wrap things up before the speed round with one question, and that's what excites you about the future of dance music?
I am starting to see a bigger push on diversity in lineups. So that's something I'm really excited about. More people of color, more gay people, more women, like, that's what I'd love to see. And that's why I love being associated with Femme House.
Yeah.
Because even in DC, I'm really starting to see a bigger effort on promoters booking more diversity in their lineups. So I am all about that. That makes me really excited. I would love to see, more female run labels out there, and, just female artists and queer artists. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. I also think that the pandemic has kind of reset some of the culture in the sense of like, we don't all have to ask for guest lists for every one of our friends' shows. You know what I mean? Like I think, music industry got hit really freaking hard the last couple years. And I think now coming out of that, people are more sensitive to that, and people are, I think, a little bit more willing to support artists in an appropriate way by paying for a ticket, or, even the artists themselves deciding to release on Bandcamp and, see more of a profit in that regard, as opposed to streaming or whatever. So I think that that's been another silver lining of the last like couple years, is it's kind of reset a little bit of that culture, I think. So I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, we've definitely gone back to being more of a community in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. Yes, it's still an industry and there's still money, there's still a bottom line, but I feel like the community aspect, because we all sat inside essentially what was an AOL chat room
Yeah.
with each
Yeah.
other for almost 2 years, and we were forced to actually interact with each other without the veneer of the flashing lights and the backstage
Dude,
access and all
you're
of
giving me
that.
chills. I totally That's why I've loved what Twitch has done. Like it's really created like such a community, and that's what I like about that platform. And I've gotten to meet a bunch of these people now IRL, and it's just, all walks of life all over the world. It's been incredible. And, like we were talking before, you know, I don't know if I ever would have connected with LP Giobbi if it wasn't for the internet and live streaming. And same thing, like, even like the Defected crew, like Sam Divine and Low Step, but like I've gotten to know these people now, which are huge like idols of mine and dance music. And I have so much respect for them. And it's just been great to like actually kind of like get to connect with them, because I don't know how that would ever happen. And Mr. V too, I gotta shout him out. He's been such a great mentor, and we're writing music together now. So it's been awesome.
I love it. You just name checked two of my favorite people. LP and Will
Yeah.
are two of my favorite people in the industry.
Yeah, Will's awesome. We I rated his Twitch channel, and this is how this all started, because nobody knew like how Twitch worked or what a raid was. So I like rated his channel, and he was like, what the hell is going on? He's like talking to people in the chat. He's like, do I need to call the FBI? So it's so funny. So I like DM'd him, like, dude, like, I'm sorry, like this is just how it works, whatever. So but yeah, we bonded since then. So it's pretty funny.
I love that. So now we're gonna do the speed rounds.
Okay.
You have not been prepped on any of these questions.
No, I haven't. I'm nervous.
100% random. And
okay.
Let's, we don't take anything too seriously. Let's just have some fun. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Popsicles or ice cream?
Popsicles.
Tacos or burritos?
Tacos.
Sliced bread or roll?
Wait, say that again?
Sliced bread or a roll?
Oh, roll.
Biggie or Tupac?
Biggie.
Boys to Men or SWV?
Boys to Men.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Obviously. Intimate club or festival?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm gonna go festival.
All right, so festival or rave?
Festival.
Best lobster roll?
Ugh. I don't know. Somewhere on the Cape.
All right. Snow or beach?
Beach.
Lake or ocean?
Lake.
Halloween or Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving.
Analog or digital?
Digital.
If you could have one superpower, would you choose flight or invisibility?
Flight.
Massive or serum?
Massive.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know.
Please.
No, I had a good friend give me like complete 8 or something on like CD-ROM, and I'm just like had that ever since. So massive.
I love it. I love it. I love it. House or techno?
House.
Would you rather only be able to whisper or only be able to shout?
Only be able to shout. I'm from Jersey.
Drum and bass or trap?
I've reached a good trap show or two in my day. I'll go trap.
Trap or hip hop?
Hip hop.
Hip hop or pop?
Hip hop.
All right. Favorite color?
Blue.
Carl Cox or Chris Lake?
Oh, Chris Lake.
Flip flops or shoes?
Shoes. I'm a Nike head.
Me too. A guilty pleasure TV show?
Oh my God. Right now, I am obsessed with Only Murders in the Building. Do you know this Hulu show?
No.
With Martin Short and Steve Martin and Selena Gomez? I'm like addicted right now.
Those 3 people were on a cast together?
I know. It's so good. It's a show about a murder mystery, but it's also like about murder mystery podcast. It's really good because I'm not into murder mystery stuff at all, but watch it. It's on Hulu. It's called Only Murders in the Building.
Okay, that's 100%. I'm watching that. Me and my
Yes.
wife may have found our new show. That cast just
There's only one
amazing.
season. I know. It's like so weird, but it's so good.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak to us today. It's been great, and it was great actually getting to see you in like quasi real life.
Yeah, I know.
I love it. And again, thank you so much, and all of the best to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Awesome. All right, bye.
Bye.